Hello listeners, this is the continuing video of Mahabharat audio series. This video will be regarding chapter number 71. It describes the 8th day of the battle. When the 8th day dawned, Bhishma arrayed his army in tortoise formation. Yudhishthira said to Dhritarashtra, "See there, the enemy is in Kurma view. You have to answer at once with the formation that can break it." Dhritarashtra immediately proceeded to his task. The Pandav forces were arrayed in a three-pronged formation. Bhim was at the head of one prong, Satyaki of another, and Yudhishthira at the crest of the middle division. Our ancestors had developed the science of war well. It was not reduced to writing, but was preserved but tradition in the families of Kshatriyas. Armor and tactics were employed suitably to mate the weapons of offense and the tactics which the enemy used in those days. The Kurukshetra battle was fought some thousands of years ago. Listening the story of the battle in Mahabharat, we should not having the practice and incidents of modern warfare in mind. Reject the Mahabharat narrative as mere myth with no relation to fact. Only about a century and a half ago, the English Admiral Nelson fought great sea battles and won undying renown. The weapons used and the vessels that actually took part in Nelson's battles would seem almost weird and even ridiculous if compared with those of modern naval warfare. If 150 years can make so much difference, we must be prepared for very strange things in the procedure of events of a period so long back as that of the Mahabharat war. Another matter to be kept in mind is that we cannot expect, in the books of poets and literary writers, accurate or full details about weapons and tactics, although the narrative may be of battles. Military affairs were in ancient time the sole concern of the military order, the Kshatriyas. Their culture and their training were entirely their own charge. The principles and the secrets of warfare and the science and art of the use of military weapons were handed down from generation to generation by tradition and personal instruction. There were no military textbooks, and there were not much place for them in the works of poets and rishis. If a modern novel deals in some chapters with the treatment and cure of a sick person, we cannot expect to see such details in it as might interest a medical man. No author would care, even if he were able to include scientific details in his chapter. So we cannot hope to find in this epic of Vyas precise details as to what is tortoise formation or lotus formation. We have no explanation as to how one could, by discharging a continuous stream of arrows, build a defense around himself or intercept and cut missiles in transit, or how one could be living when pierced all over by arrows, or how far the armor worn by the soldiers and officers could protect them against missiles, or what were the ambulance arrangements, or how the dead were disposed of. All these things appertaining to ancient war, however interesting, will have to be in the realm of the unknown in spite of the vivid narrative we have in the Mahabharat epic. Now coming to the 8th day of Kurukshetra battle. Bhim killed 8 of Dhritarashtra's sons early in the battle that day. Duryodhan's heart quailed before this. It seemed to his friends as if Bhimsena would complete his revenge this very day, even as he saw in the assembly hall where the great outrage was enacted. Arjun had a great bereavement in this day's battle. His dear son Iravan was killed. This son of Arjun, by his Naga wife, had come and joined the Pandav forces at Kurukshetra. Duryodhan sent his friend, the Rakshas Alambas, to oppose the Naga warrior. Iravan was slain after a fierce fight. When Arjun heard this, he broke down completely. Said he, turning to Vasudev, Vidur had indeed told us plainly that both sides would be plunged in grief unbearable. What are we doing all this wretched destruction upon one another for? Just for the sake of property? After all this killing, what joy are we or they likely to find in the end? O Madhusudan, I now see why the far-seeing Yudhishthir said he would be content if Duryodhan would give 5 villages to us, keeping everything else to himself, and he would not resort to fighting if that were agreed to. Duryodhan in his obstinate folly refused to give even these 5 villages, and so these great sins have to be committed on both sides. I continue fighting only because men would otherwise think me a coward who could submit tamely to wrong. When I see the dead warriors lying on the field, my heart is filled with unbearable anguish. Oh, how wicked we are to carry on in this miserable, sinful way. Seeing Iravan killed, Ghatotkacha uttered a loud war cry which made all the assembled soldiers tremble, and with his division fell upon the Kaurav army ferociously. So great was the destruction he wrought that at many points the Kaurav formation was broken. Seeing this, Duryodhan personally led an attack on Bhim's son. The king of Vanga joined Duryodhan and his elephants. Duryodhan fought most bravely on this 8th day of the battle. He killed a great number of warriors on Ghatotkacha's side. Ghatotkacha hurled a javelin which would have ended Duryodhan's career, but for the Vanga chief's prompt intervention with one of his elephants. The missile hit the beast, which fell down, and Duryodhan was saved. Bhishma was anxious about Duryodhan and sent a large force under Drona to support the Kaurav prince. Many were the veterans who were in this force that attacked Ghatotkacha. So tumultuous and fierce was the fight at this sector of the battle that Yudhishthira feared for Ghatotkacha's safety and sent Bhimsena in his aid. Then the battle became even fiercer than before. 16 of Duryodhan's brothers perished on this day. Chapter 71 finishes here. Keep listening Mahabharat audio series in the next video.